Happy March 1st, and we're back with a lot of Bravo news. I want to apologize if I sound congested because I'm still getting over a cold on this week's episode. Hopefully, by next week's, I will finally be clear of it. But we got a lot of news out of Salt Lake City, Next Gen NYC, Real Housewives of Potomac, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, The Traitors, Southern Charm, Summer House. A lot of shows being covered this week, even some OG Vanderpump Rules news. So enjoy today's episode. Thank you, as always, for being listeners to this podcast. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. And if you are interested in ad-free episodes, head over to my Patreon. For $3 a month, you get all the episodes ad-free. Patreon.com/Bravo and Botox. Enjoy today's episode. Welcome to the Bravo Papers, a safe space for all us Bravo fans who love to analyze, deconstruct, and talk about our favorite Bravo shows ad nauseum. So join me, Bravo and Botox, and we'll catch up on all the Bravo news and read way too much into our favorite shows and Bravo celebrities. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Bravo Papers, Bravo Weekly News, here with your host, Emily. It's been a week. I think I just want to start by saying I know this is a tough weekend for a lot of people, with what's going on in the news. I can't just pretend it's not existing, but I mean, listen, we haven't had a day of peace, it feels like, in 5 years. There's always something going on, and the news has been incredibly stressful. But I'm recording this today, and this weekend has been, Trump bombing Iran and all this other stuff happening. So I just want you to know that, this is a place where I hope you can take a break from thinking about that stuff. As one of my favorite comedians always says, put your brain on the shelf. Just detach from it for a bit because it's all over the news. It's everywhere on social media. And sometimes it can be very anxiety inducing for people, myself included. But then it's like you can't stop reading about it. It's like that never ending cycle. So I hope that here you can get a place where we're just going to talk about some Bravo news. Yeah, some of it is going to be still upsetting and serious because, sometimes that crosses over into the Bravo world. But yeah, I hope this is a place where you can kind of get a break from that and just, delve into the gossip and the fun and all that kind of stuff for the most part. Okay. Except for this first story, because unfortunately we have to start with a really sad report here, which is that Mary Cosby's son, Robert Jr., has passed away. And, if you are just hearing of this from me, I would be surprised because, it's really been everywhere. If you're a Bravo fan, which I'm assuming if you're here, you're a Bravo fan. But it's really just devastating news, obviously for Mary, and the Bravo world is also just reeling from this news. I know a lot of us we hoped that the story would end differently. I think we all really hoped that. We knew that he had these demons. We knew that he was struggling. We watched it, but it's hard. I think that's why it's hitting people. Many of us, we don't know Mary personally. We didn't know Robert Jr. personally, but we felt so connected to the story because the way that she shared it, and it was so authentic. And we don't get that often in that type of way. So I think it really connected for people, especially the discussion of addiction and, being addicted to drugs, that it seems to be like in the Bravo world, a lot of times people are trying to, cover that with discussion of, they'll say I'm an alcoholic when really they have a drug problem because there's this shame around illegal drugs specifically. Which obviously people might be fearful because it's illegal, but It's one of those things that like it was just one of those raw kind of really authentic moments and heartbreaking. When I watched that scene where Mary sat down with her son and they talked about, he talked about life feeling like unseasoned chicken and all this stuff. Like, I'll never forget that. And I cried watching that. I know many people did. So to see his story end like this it's devastating. It really is. So here's what Mary said. She said, "Our beloved son, Robert Jr., has been called home to the Lord. Though our hearts ache, we take comfort in God's promise and in knowing he is finally at peace. We are grateful for your prayers and trust in the Lord to carry us through this time of sorrow." Okay. And Bravo TV posted and, they wrote, "We are heartbroken to learn of the passing of Mary's beloved son, Robert Jr. Mary is a cherished member of our family, and our thoughts, love, and deepest condolences are with her and her loved ones during this incredibly difficult time." Yeah, I mean, you know, I think a lot of us have been touched by mental health issues, whether it's us or family members. A lot of us have been touched by addiction. I know for Robert, it wasn't addiction alone. It was also that severe depression, those things that he was dealing with, and that kind of led him to drug use, it seems. So, often they go hand in hand. And, I think a lot of us can relate and were touched by that conversation. I think a lot of people's lives were impacted by it in positive ways. And I think that it was just seeing that on TV and seeing that conversation really meant something to a lot of people, myself included. So, I think he's made really an impact on the audience and the Bravo world that will be forever lasting. Like, I don't think anyone is ever going to forget about that scene. It's going to be one of those scenes that we always talk about and that we always remember, but just so devastating for Mary. I mean, this is really like a nightmare for a parent. So, and this is kind of along those lines, what Andy says. He says, "Devastatingly sad news out of SLC. This is every parent's worst nightmare. My heart is broken for Mary, and I am sending all my love to her and Robert Sr." Yeah, I mean, there's really nothing to say in more except like, this is literally every parent's worst nightmare, and what a devastating place for her to be. And, we just send, of course, all our thoughts and our love to Mary. And I hope that, it seems like she has a great community of people rallying around her, her friends. I mean, obviously the audience and everyone in that world, but, she needs those people that are close to her. And it seems like she does have them. The cast is really rallying behind her. Lisa Barlow posted, "Prayers for you, Mary Cosby, prayers for your family. May you feel God's love and comfort. May you feel love surround you today and always." Brittany posted, "Holding you and your family in love and prayer." Those were in Instagram stories. And there's also lots of comments from like Bronwyn, Brittany, Lisa, Meredith, Angie. Angie said, "Thank you for sharing Bubs with my family and the world. He touched many hearts and this loss has broken mine. I will forever remember his kindness towards Electra, his handshake and eye contact, and his soft-spoken voice. Love you, Mom. I am here for you. May God bless your family and may his memory be eternal. I love you, Mary." So, and we know her and Angie are really close. Heather commented, Whitney, Justin, Brooks, like everyone is sending, their love out. And the other thing is that this kind of leaves that question of like, will Mary return to the show, et cetera, which I don't think anyone would judge her for not returning. And I don't think anyone would be disappointed. I hope she knows that no one in the audience, no one would be like, "Oh, well, this sucks. Mary's not coming back." Like no one's, of course, everyone loves her on the show, but it is completely, you take your time and do what you need to do. And I did hear that filming for season 7 was going to be postponed because of the passing of Robert Jr. However, a report did come out, and according to TMZ, Mary Cosby plans to film season 7 despite the death. So sources connected to production told TMZ that, the decision to film is entirely hers, of course. However, she has said that returning to work is a way to maintain some structure during an incredibly painful time as she leans heavily on her faith and her inner circle. Um, so sources say Mary will participate in filming at whatever pace she feels is right and zero pressure. So filming was postponed. The show is in pre-production. But when the cameras officially begin rolling, which they're not yet, but when they do, she plans on participating. So this is sources close to TMZ. So again, I don't know 100% if this is true, but you know, TMZ usually has decent sources because they pay for stuff. So they usually do, just to be honest. But the other thing is that it does seem like his passing was that of an overdose, unfortunately, because there was a 911 call where Narcan was given, but I believe that it was too late. So, unfortunately, this is a story way too common, especially with the increase in fentanyl on the market, and that way too many young people are losing their lives because of this. So it's just really devastating for Mary and her family. So we wish them all the best. You know, they are all in our prayers and our thoughts, of course. And I'm sure that, this is not kind of the last we'll be talking about this or hearing about this, because we'll all for sure remember Robert Jr. and that scene and what him and Mary shared with us forever. I have to be honest, it's really hard to transition from that to like another news story that's like super light and not, so I'm just, instead of trying to transition in some sort of smooth, elegant way and respectful way, I'm just going to tell you guys that it's hard to transition and just do it because I just feel like that's the best way. So let's talk about Summer House and something a little bit lighter. It seems that possibly Amanda Batula is soft launching a new relationship, which is seems pretty nuts right now, not in a bad way. All the support to Amanda. She deserves to have a rebound, have a fling, just whatever she wants, right? After everything that's happened. But okay, so here's what happened. She posted this like Instagram story where she's like seemingly holding hands with someone and it looks like a male hand and but doesn't show us who. And it was almost like kind of like a tease, but people didn't know who it was. So it was being spoken about on TikTok and by TikTokers and stuff like that. And somebody replied and says it was Aiden Blake. He hung out with them on the snow day as well. He also was on tonight's episode of Summer House at the singles party. Interesting. Okay. So I, being a 42-year-old woman, did not know who Adam Blake was. I am not in touch with the TikTokers of the world, okay? I do have TikTok. I rarely go on it and I always forget about it, to be honest. But yeah, so fans are speculating that she's soft launching, as the kids say, her relationship with Aiden. Oh my God. See, this is how much I don't know. I've been calling him Adam. His name is Aiden Blake. Okay. So she posts this like cryptic video holding hands with a mystery man. And apparently, both Amanda and Carl follow Aiden on social media, and Amanda has liked several of his recent posts. Okay. So, is that like hard evidence? No, it's not hard evidence, but it's something, isn't it? I think it's something. And I had a few followers kind of like DM me this and be like, oh, she's dating this guy. Like, because I think this is what always happens when there's a big relationship that falls apart, especially like a couple that we have literally been following this couple since inception, like we have followed them from when they started dating till now and this divorce, right? So it is kind of like, it's sort of like a big deal when it's going to be like, who is going to be the person that they're dating? Like, who's going to be the next one, And, if Amanda is dating this guy, good for her. I hope that I don't know anything about him. If you have opinions on him, let me know. I have no idea who he is. I don't know anything. I don't know. Is he a good guy? I don't know. I mean, I think he's pretty cute. I think he's a little Kyle-ish. Like to me, and this might be controversial, I think he's like brunette, darker featured Kyle, you know? Like he's got like, let me see, wait, maybe. Okay, he has blue eyes, fine. But he has brown hair and, like scruff and all that. So, I think if I was her, I would definitely not be going for a blonde guy after being married to Kyle. Like, you need something different for your first rebound. And again, it's hard for me to think that this could be like a relationship that's like, going to be like long lasting or something like that. I think it's probably a rebound, which is fine. But yeah, it seems like something's going on there. And, we wish Amanda and her new fling or whatever it is all the best, of course. But I mean, her kind of soft launching it with the hand holding, I think that's a pretty big deal. Like, just considering how fresh her divorce is for the audience, like maybe it's not fresh for her because I feel like she's been mourning this relationship since like before the relationship was over. I feel like she's been like pre-mourning it. If anything, I think it's fresher for Kyle. Cause you get guys like Kyle who have like a lot of ego and stuff like that, and they think that their woman will just put up with their shit forever. And they're always like shook when the woman actually leaves. Because I mean, if we're being real, in a lot of situations, a lot of women don't leave, unfortunately. And I'm not like blaming them. I'm just saying that is reality. So when you have a woman who does finally leave, like the guys are always like, "Oh my God, she's actually leaving." Like they're usually pretty shook. So I do get that impression, and I do think that Amanda has grieved it. So I could see her moving on at this point. I don't think it's like crazy or too soon or anything like that. So good for her, as the reaction meme that I keep seeing online says. Good for her. Okay. Before wearing Skims, I have to admit, underwear was always kind of an afterthought for me. Like, I would just focus on my outfit, but once I found truly amazing fitting and feeling underwear and bras from Skims, I did start to realize that these make a huge difference in how I feel in my clothes all day. More comfortable and therefore more confident because I'm not even thinking about my undergarments or adjusting or any of that. And now with Skims, my entire top drawer is filled with the most amazing, stretchy, supportive fabrics that keep me comfortable all day long. Recently, I tried the lightweight cotton thong from Skims and I'm obsessed. The feeling is like no other underwear I've worn before. Thongs used to bother me so much throughout the day, but this fabric really just melts on my skin and like I forget I'm even wearing it. Everyone should experience this level of comfort in their life. So go run now. Shop my favorite bras and underwear at skims.com. After you place your order, be sure to let them know we sent you. Select podcast in the survey and be sure to select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. These days, I'm all about quality over quantity, especially in my closet. If it's not well made and versatile, it's just not worth it for me and I don't want to buy it. And that's why I honestly love Quince. The fabrics feel elevated, the cuts are thoughtful, and the pricing actually makes sense. Quince uses 100% European linen. Their cotton poplin is crisp and holds its shape. The gauze is soft without being flimsy. Everything Quince makes is built to hold up season after season. The stitching, the fit, the fabrics. These are the pieces that you're going to reach for over and over. That Quince cotton cashmere sweater has become my go-to. It's light enough for layering, but it still feels luxe. Love it under a jean jacket. And it didn't cost what I thought quality cashmere would. It was so affordable. Right now, go to quince.com/Bravo Papers for free shipping and 365-day returns. That's a full year to wear it and love it, and you will. Now available in Canada, too. Don't keep settling for clothes that don't last. Go to quince.com/Bravo Papers for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/Bravo Papers. Meanwhile, former Summer House's Paige DeSorbo is gushing over her relationship with her confirmed boyfriend, Joe D'Amelio. Okay, you all know what I think about this, I think, without me even saying anything. She's been dating this guy since, like, her and Craig broke up, if not during her relationship with Craig, which I don't care. I really don't care if there was overlap. Like, whatever. Maybe he deserved it. I don't know. But what I am going to say is I just think it's funny that the last 6 months or whatever, it's been Paige gaslighting all of her fans. I'm single. I'm very much single. I'm not dating anyone. I don't need a man. Da, da, da. No, you've been dating him the whole time. I'm sorry. Just say it. And it's okay. You were with Craig. Then you met this guy who, by the way, is like from some like billionaire family, and he's Italian, and you're like, Annie lives where you live, he has, and you liked him and you were over Craig, and that's it. Okay. I just wish she would just be more real about this stuff. Right. And now it's like, what, a year later, and finally she's confirming it. Like, she clearly kept it close to her chest in order to, number one, kind of drum up publicity, like, are they or aren't they, and da-da-da, and have people talking about it, and the picture gets sent to Dumois or whatever, like all that kind of stuff. And then I also think that it's a PR move for sure, because if she had announced this relationship like 2 months after her and Craig broke up, people would be like, oh, she's already dating someone, she can't even be single for 5 minutes. Like, you would have gotten a lot of that. And I'm sorry, but like, as much as Paige likes to play up this whole like, men suck, like independent woman thing, she is often in a relationship. She's a relationship person. Like, and again, I don't think that makes you like a weak person or anything like that. But the only time it comes off as kind of obnoxious is like when you're kind of gaslighting everybody and pretending that you're not in a relationship when you clearly are. Like, the audience isn't stupid. Anyways, so this is not surprising at all. Okay. Like, we've known, but she finally talked to Us Weekly on a red carpet and said, yes, we're exclusive. And she said, I'm in my 30s, so it's not like I'm out every single weekend going out on multiple dates like I would have been in my 20s. She says the relationship with D'Amelio, she describes it as really fun and very relaxing. I feel like they get a reputation, Italian guys, that they're not quiet, but they're quiet, and I appreciate that. Well, no, some of them are quiet and some of them are loud. Like, I feel like she constantly talks in these huge generalizations. Like, and I know it makes for good sound clips and it's like funny and the snarky, whatever, but like, I'm half Italian, and I'm just going to say there's lots of there's lots of loud Italian guys that never shut up, but there are quiet ones too. I agree with that. But they're quiet, and I appreciate that. Say my guy is quiet, and I appreciate that. That's a good thing to say. She said, like, they know when to speak and when to not, and I like that. I mean, I would strongly disagree based on some of my Italian relatives. And she says that's important. It's important for a man to know when to shut up. So again, like, yeah, just playing that up. It was such a balancing act. I feel like when I was on reality TV, I started when I was 25. It feels very like that was my 20s. Obviously, I'm in charge of my own decisions and stuff now, so it's nice to be able to decide what I share and what I don't with my personal stuff. Yeah, so I mean, that is the nice part of not being on reality TV, is like, it's not like, okay, well, you're on the show, so you better share your relationship. I think the only problem maybe for Paige is that she's on a podcast where the podcast that her and Hannah have very much depends on this sort of like parasocial relationship that they have with their audience of like, we're the giggly squad. You guys are in our circle. You guys are the gigglers. We share everything with you. And I think that's where it becomes a problem, because I think in reality, Paige doesn't actually want to share a lot of personal stuff with her audience, but she has to kind of play it up like she does, because that's what kind of keeps that like parasocial relationship going, and is part of the reason that their podcast is so popular. Part of the reason, not the only reason. I just said a part before people come after me. But, I do think that she has not wanted to share that because I think she was worried it would alienate her audience from her to a point. So, yeah. Anyways, let's go to Lindsay on Watch What Happens Live. So Lindsay was on with Ben, the new hot Australian guy, who I think is really hot. I just want to say that. He's really hot. And I know he's not like the hot necessary. Like, I understand how some people are like, it's so overblown. He's not even like, there's other guys that have been hotter. That is true. But sometimes somebody just has like an X factor or like a, you know, I don't know, like je ne sais quoi kind of thing. Like, I just feel, is that the right use of that phrase? I just feel like he has something not physical, just like a vibe about him, you know? And I think like if you see it and you're like, he's so hot. But is he like the hottest guy ever? Of course not. Of course not. But he was on Watch What Happens Live with Lindsay, nonetheless. And Lindsay was asked about her and Austin at BravoCon because Austin was like, when he was on Watch What Happens Live, which I reported on this last week, he was like, Lindsay was all over me. She was ovulating. Like they were, they were like going on and on. And so Andy asked Lindsay about that. And she's like, we did not hook up at BravoCon. She's like, I was actually talking to someone when I was at BravoCon, and Andy fully like cuts her off and is like, Lindsay, like you were heavy flirting. And then she's like, okay, fine. So, you know, he kind of calls her on it and she's like, fine. He's like, you seemed really open to it. And Lindsay's like, Austin and I have great chemistry. She's like, but nothing happened. And Andy's like, okay, fine. You guys do have great chemistry. They're just like one of those friendships where they're attracted to each other. You know, they have good chemistry. And if they're not in like a serious relationship, they're going to flirt and they're going to hook up. I mean, a lot of us know those people in our friend group or what larger kind of social group, you know, those people exist, right? Those couples, like they're not, you know what I mean? Not like official couples, but those people. So, but I'm glad nothing happened. And Austin did also, he said nothing happened, but he said that like Lindsay was very flirtatious. But again, I don't like how it's always framed because it's like, admit that you were flirting too, Austin. I guess maybe, I don't know, was he still with Audrey at that point? No, I think they were broken up by then. I don't know. Okay. So Andy also asked Lindsay what she thinks of Sally and Austin. And she says, well, they're not a couple, right? And then Andy just starts laughing. And then Lindsay's like, well, I think Sally, I mean, she's in the news a lot, right? And then she smirks. See, this is why Lindsay is a good reality star. Like, that was just the perfect answer. And, you know, and we can all read between the lines that she's like, yeah, Sally is just thirsty for any guy that is on television, which is true. And I have to say, Sally has been doing nonstop interviews lately. Every time I refresh my goddamn Instagram feed, it's Sally on another podcast or another interview talking about Austin and how she very much likes him and this, that, the other. Okay, so then Andy asked Lindsay and Ben, because Ben's the other guest, if anything ended up happening between them on the singles night. And this was interesting, okay? Lindsay is like, well, you know, he told me he wanted to be a girl dad. And, you know, they all kind of laugh. And she's like, but no. And then Lindsay looks to Ben and says, no, not that night. And Andy's like, oh, okay. So another night. Like, Andy doesn't say so another night, but he's just like, oh, okay. And then Ben is like, no, nothing happened. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, that was weird. And then Lindsay just kind of is like, oh, yeah, okay. And like, she kind of just goes with it. And then, okay, so this was funny to me because before I saw this clip with this question, I saw a clip where Andy is asking Ben who his first celebrity crush is, and his answer is Princess Jasmine. And then he posted an Instagram, and it's a video of basically a reaction clip of his girlfriend in the audience on Watch What Happens Live. And his girlfriend kind of looks like Princess Jasmine. So in the video, it's just like her face, like kind of smiling and laughing in the audience. And he writes like on the video, found my real Princess Jasmine. And if you go on his Instagram, they are very much like an official couple. So it was funny to me. So then after I saw that, I thought, oh my God, like I saw that. I was like, that's so sweet that he like posted that about her. And they're like, what a like gorgeous couple. Like she's gorgeous. And like, they're so cute and all this stuff. Then I saw the clip of them talking about hooking up, or Andy asking them about hooking up, and reality kind of hit me that I'm like, oh, did he post all that? 'Cause he's in the doghouse because he didn't tell her that he hooked up with Lindsay, or like, I don't know when he started dating this woman or how long they've been dating, or if it, or like if he cheated. I mean, that's even worse, but it, I don't know. I don't know. But it seems like maybe he was in a little bit of trouble, possibly. Anyways, moral of the story is always think the worst of men. Um, and listen, if he didn't cheat on her, I can understand her like getting over it, but I can also understand her being mad. Like, you were on a TV show recently. Can you at least tell me who you hooked up with? Because the show is going to play out, and but clearly something maybe happened that wasn't caught on camera. Because I don't know, like, go back and watch the clip if you can find it. Go to Bravo, watch What Happens Live. It's on their Instagram, and tell me what you think, because I think based on what I saw, something happened. Okay? Okay. Okay, let's go to some Real Housewives of Potomac news. So Jassy is responding on social media to the whole like recording phone calls thing. So if you watch the second part of the Potomac reunion, the ladies kind of accuse Jassy of like recording phone calls, and we don't really get like a clear explanation for it. And I don't know if that's because of editing or what, but it seems like maybe it is, if we're believing what Jassy says here. Sorry, Jazzy. So here's what she posted. When I heard this phone call is being recorded, that's in quotations. Because I think on the iPhone, I'm pretty sure that if a phone call is recorded, it has to tell you and alert the other person. So I think that's what she's talking about. I was the one who asked Stacy what that was and immediately told her not to say anything. I asked if it was her phone. She said no and asked if it was mine. I checked, realized it was my phone, and turned it off right away. And then she continues, the part that wasn't shown is what actually happened. Wendy and Stacy were muted when Angel acknowledged she knew she was on speaker. I won't accept false or defamatory claims being made about me to create a narrative. Proof was there and didn't air. Not a single one of them would have said anything that would warrant me to record them. It's weird, and that was not their true response at the reunion, and they were on mute when I proved Angel knew she was on speaker, per Wendy and Stacy's request. So I guess she's saying they put Angel on speaker, and that was Wendy and Stacy asking about that, but that she wasn't recording. And that, I mean, I guess that could happen, that you could like accidentally, I don't know, press the record thing or whatever while you're, or here's the other thing. Jazzy purposefully went to record and then realized that, oh shit, it notifies the person. So then she pretended it was a mistake and that she didn't know what it was. That is also that is the more nefarious, way to look at it. And the more empathetic way to look at it is that it was an accident. Again, we're never going to know, only Jazzy knows the truth 100%, but she is saying that it's not true. I mean, I can see it being an accident, so I'm not like, in my head, like, oh, like, I'm always going to remember Jazzy as the one who records phone calls. Like, it didn't seem like that important of a plot point anyways. It's like, we haven't really gotten to know Jazzy enough to kind of like, form an opinion about like, would she lie about this or not? It's kind of hard to tell. And, Andy wasn't doing the best job at this reunion, as many have pointed out on social media. And, a lot of the conversations when Jazzy was out on stage, he was kind of like, okay, I want to move on. I want to move on. Like, who cares what you want? We want to hear. Like, I wanted to hear more about like Kiarna possibly stole Greg from his whatever wife or whoever. Like why couldn't we hear more about that? like, I don't know. Does Andy know something we don't know? Does he know Kay is getting fired and so is Jazzy? So, it's a moot point. I don't know, but it doesn't matter. They were on this season and we need it to play out. Do better, Andy. And I know he can. We saw the sit down with Karen. Like, he still has his interview chops. Sometimes it just feels like he's just not in the mood, which, quite frankly, is unacceptable. You have to be in the mood at all times. Sorry, that's your job and you're getting a lot of money. Okay, let's go to Angel. Spring is on the horizon, and it's time to refresh your space with Wayfair. They've got everything you need to organize, style, and decorate your home, all within your budget and style. One thing I've been trying to do is create a peaceful space in my bedroom where I can retreat, read, de-stress, and it's just so true that your space impacts how you feel and your mental health. I added a beautiful accent cabinet that I got on Wayfair to my bedroom space. It has these gorgeous glass doors and a drawer underneath for important documents. I put books in it, flowers, a candle, and it just really suits the traditional style that I'm going for in the bedroom. Now, the space I needed it for was a very particular size, but that's why I love Wayfair, because you can shop by the height and width that you need and the style and color. So the accent cabinet is perfect for the space, right color, and it goes with the aesthetic of the room. So find furniture, decor, and essentials that fit your unique style and budget. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. I have become a big fan of Olive and June. I've never been one of those nail girlies who's good at doing their own nails and always has them done until now. And now I'm doing my nails on my own at home all the time with Olive and June's Mani System. Olive and June's Mani System has everything you need for salon quality manicure in one box. These are salon quality tools. I love their cuticle serum. It's so hydrating, especially during this really dry winter. And you can choose 6 colors from their huge selection of colors. Personally, I'm loving First Date, the perfect light pink for every day, and Real Toasty. It's a great neutral that just goes with everything. Their polish also doesn't chip. It lasts for 7 days, and using their Mani System works out to be just $2 a manicure. Way cheaper than going to the salon. And I gotta say, doing this at home is extra special for me because now I've been doing mine and then I do my daughter's toenails and she just loves it. We like play salon and she's always loved painting her nails fun colors. And now it's a great activity for mommy-daughter time. And don't forget, Olive and June also has press-on nails. They look real, they last long, they have so many sizes so you can find the perfect fit. They're non-damaging. You can basically do a manicure in less than 10 minutes. So visit oliveandjune.com/Bravo Papers for 20% off your first system. That's oliveandjune.com/BRAVOPAPERS for 20% off your first system. Because Angel posted on Threads in just after the second part of the reunion, kind of in response to things being said about her husband, etc. Angel said, "I will never address this again. God and my mama in heaven brought my husband to me. He loved the grief of my mama's passing away. He's an incredible father. He's supportive, attentive, loving. He's my partner in creativity and adventure. And he spoils me," because there's a bunch of O's. "He's also incredibly honest and kind, and however he treats someone is absolutely what they deserve. I do not play about him, nor he about me. Now everyone should worry about their situation because mine is golden." All right, fair enough. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, we only know what we see, and we only know sometimes what the other girls are trying to say about him or whatever, which, that is not fact, as we as we know. And I think that, I think like to make a judgment of him at this point based on the limited information we have about him from the first season is a little bit unfair. I didn't like him and his friends not kind of greeting the women when they came. I thought that was incredibly awkward and incredibly rude. So that is one thing that I will kind of judge him on because I did not like that. But that being said, it doesn't mean that I think like he's necessarily a bad guy, because I can also understand that he's annoyed with these women because they're kind of, being mean to his wife, right? And he's hearing her perspective about everything. So, maybe that is why he didn't stand up and greet them and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it was still just a bad look. Okay. Now the stuff about the like going to the potluck or whatever it was, clearly he was annoyed because he didn't want to go. But I don't know. Ashley is trying to say like there's times he lost his temper on production. I don't know. But that's Ashley. Like I just can't. I can't like anything Ashley says I take with a huge grain of salt because she's such a messy liar. So it's like her opinion is kind of meaningless to me. Okay, let's go to some Traitors news. Spoilers ahead. Okay, spoilers, spoilers, spoilers if you have not watched the finale. So Lisa Rinna was on Watch What Happens Live, okay, for the first time in over 4 years, okay, on February 25th. And this was a big deal because, you know, Lisa and Andy kind of had a falling out after she left Beverly Hills, in the sense of like, I think she was pissed and she felt like the show and production and people like didn't have her back, Andy included. And I think the other thing is that Andy he put some private text messages between him and Lisa Rinna in his book, The Daddy Diaries, and she was pissed about that. So I don't think that they've spoken or had the greatest relationship. Okay. So during her sit down on Watch What Happens Live, Andy and her did kind of talk about all of this. Andy basically makes this speech about how Lisa, first of all, that he's sorry for sharing her text in the book. He says he's had it done to him and that it's not fun. And he says that, you know, I guess when he thought about it at the time, I guess he kind of like justified it and had all these like justifications for doing it. But looking back, those were not good reasons and he shouldn't have done it. So, you know, and he reveals that he apologized to her at the Traitors reunion and she seems, you know, like she's accepting this apology. And she says that him apologizing at the reunion meant the world to her and that she does accept it and all that kind of stuff. So they do like genuinely seem okay. Like they seem good and it seemed like a good episode, like she was having fun with him and all that kind of stuff. He also said that Lisa has been his hype woman at special times in his life, like his baby shower and stuff, and that she was at his like the day he got his star on the Walk of Fame. But unfortunately him publishing those texts kind of, got in the way of their relationship, and that she burned his book in her fireplace. And he asks if that's true. I guess she wrote it in her book and she says that it is true. But they both laugh about it. So, it seemed like everything's okay. The other thing that Andy asks her about from her book is that she says in her book that more than anything she said or did on the show, what pissed Lisa Vanderpump off the most was her saying that Lisa Vanderpump's house looked like a disco. And Andy's like, do you really think that that's the thing you said that pissed LVP off the most? And she says, absolutely. And she says she knows it was, that basically LVP was mad about her saying that. And she knows that she like held that, that she held that grudge. And I could see that. I could totally see that. I mean, it doesn't mean I'm on either one side, but I can just see LVP being like real pissed about that. So that was pretty funny. Now, other things that were revealed in Lisa's book. Hang on, let me find it. Because there was other kind of like, I guess this is kind of like a Traitors / Beverly Hills segment, we'll call it. Because she also talks about Sutton, and she's getting a lot of blowback for this. She says, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. I'm not dragging Dolce. I'm happy to drag Sutton. Because again, this quote is taken out of context. So I guess she was talking about Dolce and Gabbana and Sutton's relationship with them. She's frumpy. There's no sex appeal about her whatsoever. And she's got a weird body. So God bless her. She is getting a ton of backlash for this, and rightly so. Why are you commenting on another woman's body? Like, it's just, it just shows that Lisa Rinna, she hasn't changed at all. She is the villain, and on that episode of Watch What Happens Live, she kept preaching about how she was not the villain. She was made to be the villain, right? And she really doesn't take any accountability for her actions. Even in her book, she doesn't take any accountability for her actions, like from, the snippets I've read. So, and it's like, if you're going to say things like that, that are just so like unnecessary, like there's a million and five things that you can criticize Sutton for. And everybody would be like, yeah, that's true. There's a million things that can be said. But why you have to go after she can't control her body and what it looks like. She can't change that. That is her body. And also, didn't your daughter have an eating disorder? Like these kinds of attitudes in our society and these kinds of comments about women's bodies and making women's bodies out to be like the end all be all and the most important thing about a woman instead of who she is and all this and her accomplishments and all this other stuff. This is why we have rampant eating disorders in the world in the first place. Which, by the way, eating disorders have the second highest mortality rate of any mental health issue. So it's like, your daughter's been through this, and it's like, it wasn't a contained thing or a freak thing that your daughter had this. It's something that many people had. And like, I'm not saying Lisa's like the cause of it, but you're surely contributing to the sort of like, issue in culture and society that causes women to have these issues. And I just think that's such a disgusting comment, F you, Lisa Rinna. She also says Garcelle was fake from head to toe, and I'm not talking about her bags and clothes. Like, okay, cool. Like, you're friends with Erica Jane, who like rips off designers, who there's literal evidence of her confessional looks that were copied and ripped off by small designers without giving them any credit or money, or where you had them design. There's one where she had the designer sketch for her, then took the sketch and had it made cheaply. So give me a break. You're friends with con artists, like those people who like take money from, like, don't even start me on this. Anyways, she also says in her book, some say you can turn anyone into a villain with the right edit, but others say you did it. You said it, you did it. You can't blame the edit. I wasn't given the villain edit. You see what you get what you see. I do think that there is editing involved, but you can't edit somebody into somebody else. Okay, that's good. Some acknowledgement. But like she says that, but then she does a whole lot of blame shifting while saying other things, while accusing Garcelle of being fake and making comments about Sutton's body. Okay. And then she says that, then she goes on about, how at reunions, Rinna says like her and cast members were not allowed to have publicist therapists or anything at reunions, but Kathy Hilton was allowed at that reunion. So she feels like it was unfair and the Hilton reputation machine was stronger than her voice, etc. So she's the victim, etc. Like she doesn't take any responsibility for, her actions that season. Like, do I think that Kathy Hilton had that meltdown and did all that? Absolutely. Do I think that Lisa really gave a shit about it? No, I don't. I think she just was trying to create a moment. I'm sorry. And that's why people didn't take her seriously that season. Anyways, she says the season 12 reunion was her breaking point. She walked away, texted and emailed producers saying she was done. Um, you know, they assumed that she would come back after she cooled down. And she said she had no job, no plan after that season. And she disputes the pause narrative, saying that her version is that she chose to walk away and that Bravo wanted to frame it as mutual. And then of course her relationship with Andy became strained. Okay. She says that looking back, the show gave her a huge opportunity, but the environment after her mom's death felt too heavy and she knew it was time to go. Okay. So, nothing that we didn't really already know, in my opinion. So yeah, that's pretty much it. It's the usual, like, Rinna taking no accountability for anything. And it's not that I'm saying she doesn't even have some points. Like, I'm sure it is frustrating to be on a show for a long time, to feel like you've have friendships and relationships with production and all these people. And then, you say something about what you saw happened and it really did happen and no one is backing you up. Like, I am sure that is frustrating. But that being said, like she said in that clip from her book, you did say and do all those things as well. right? And it's, you played the game and you didn't play it well that season and you lost and you're still, this much time later kind of being a sore loser about it. Now, the other thing, the last piece of news about Rinna that I have to report, and then we can talk about something else, is that apparently at the Traitors after party, Rinna claims that she was drugged at the Traitors premiere party. Okay, so according to TMZ, she said she was drugged with something at the season 4 premiere party on January 8th. Okay, so sources close to the situation say that Colton Underwood noticed that she was completely inebriated and he knew that Lisa didn't have that much to drink. He became concerned, and then we're told that he notified Lisa's team, who got her out of there after a group pick. So yeah, so I guess they're saying that might surprise people because they didn't like each other. I mean, he's still a human. um, so what was the other thing? Yeah, so he noticed. Okay, so then later Lisa was on a Fox 5 daytime show, and they asked her about that and she says that yeah, she was drugged, and they're like, do you know that? And she's like, yeah, she was tested, and that fentanyl and what was the other one, fentanyl and amphetamines were found in her system, but that she can't discuss much more because it's being dealt with by her team and kind of legal whatever. So I mean, that's pretty crazy. Jesus, who would have done that? I mean, I guess I don't know. There's hundreds of people at these parties, the people that we see on TV, but then hundreds of people who we don't see on TV. So who knows? But that's very scary. Wow. What a way to kind of end off her Traitors season. Nuts. Okay. Let's go to some more Beverly Hills news, not involving Lisa Rinna, but involving a current cast member who has everyone talking, Amanda Francis. So she made her first appearance on Watch What Happens Live. And Andy asked her, watching the season back, was it her first or second? I can't remember. It doesn't matter. Anyways, he says, watching the season back, do you regret dropping label names like Chanel this, Gucci that, whatever? And Amanda says, the question, that Andy asked says, the ladies know labels. They don't need you to drop them. And Amanda says, this is annoying. I'm on a TV show about rich women with cool shit, and I was looking for commonalities, and basically says that she thought it was funny, talking about the juxtaposition of her sunscreen and her Chanel backpack, etc. And she says, they all do it. Okay. I think that her whole thing of looking for commonalities is a stupid argument. I have to be honest, because, I understand you can looking for commonalities would be Kyle comes in with a new bag and you're like, oh my God, I love your bag. I've always wanted one like that. Or, I was looking at a similar one or something like that. But just being like, I have 14 Chanel backpacks and I have this and I have that's a little different. There is some finesse and nuance, to discussing and dropping the names of labels and stuff like that, that some of the other women have. And Amanda just doesn't have it. She just comes off as very literal, and it comes off there's no finesse. I don't know how else to say it. However, I do agree with I'm on a show about rich women with cool shit. I can understand as a new person coming in on the show that she kind of thought and she was mistaken, but that she kind of thought that this was the name of the game. Because if you look back at the way that Erica was when she first came on the show, the way Dorit was, I mean, they were very much just really tacky about it. I still think Kyle is really tacky about it. I think Kyle's one of the worst ones. Kyle, every time anyone has anything, Kyle has to compete with them and be like, oh my God, I have that one too. Or I was going to get that one, but then I didn't get it. And then I just had to get this. And she's putting her Birkin on display during her therapy session last season. I think Kyle's pretty bad about it too. I think they all are. So I do think that she has a point. I think the audience can point it out. I don't think that the women on the show have the right to point it out because, again, you can't criticize her for it. And then just because Erica is not doing it right now, because now she's broke ass, she was ridiculous when she first came on. And so Dorit was Miss Head to Toe labels. Like she literally would wear those full Dior, full LV printed, like, give me a break. Give me a break. Okay. So there's a lot of hypocrisy happening. Okay. In reaction to Bo saying that she manifests taking people's money, Amanda says she's an adult woman with autonomy and businesses don't take people's money. You choose who you give your money to. No, businesses aren't taking it. You're choosing to spend your money on that. And she says thousands of women are choosing to spend their money on her service, and they choose that because they like it, and they come back because they like it. I mean, that's not the worst argument. Like I know people don't like her, so and she's annoying as F, but so no one wants to ever acknowledge when she has a point, but she does kind of have a point. Like, unless it's like her business is a pyramid scheme, because pyramid schemes are illegal. She's not doing anything illegal technically. And you know who has done a lot of illegal things in order to get money and support their lifestyle? Erica Jane. I just want to point that out. Like, it's just that there is a lot of hypocrisy. Okay. So she says that Amanda also says that the scam thing, or being like her business being talked about as a scam, hurts her because she spent 15 years building the business and crafting these courses. Yeah, I mean, I think her business feels scammy in the sense that like it's very like woo woo, it's like I'm like teaching you to manifest, and it's like, what is this? Like, and your courses are really expensive and da da da. But I mean, I don't think that the women buying it is like, the single mom who's like struggling to get by, working 40 hours a week at a minimum wage job. I think these are probably women who are in a good financial place and can spend money on luxuries like this. So it's kind of like, I don't know, it's a gray area certainly, but I do think it, I see why people feels scammy. I get that. Amanda says she does not think talking about how much money she makes is emasculating to her husband, because her husband knows, this is also in response to a question, her husband knows their finances and none of this is news to him. Yeah, I don't think that that's why it's we know that he knows how much money you make and that you pay for things, but it's the way you talk about it that's emasculating. Like, I have to disagree with her on this one, because when you're out and you're talking about you and your husband's home and how it was built, and you purposely interrupt the conversation to be like, but I paid for that. Just so you guys know, I paid for all of it and he paid for nothing. That is emasculating. If a guy did that to his wife, people would not like it, so that is like, it's not emasculating that she's paying for it or that she's the breadwinner, but it is emasculating when you speak of it like that and you make sure to kind of flex that in every conversation. So sorry, you're wrong on that one. Okay, in other Beverly Hills news, Denise Richards is being ordered to pay her ex, Aaron, $5,000 in spousal bills a month. So this is temporary spousal support while the divorce plays out. And this is starting March 5th and will continue until further order of the court. Denise must foot Aaron $25,000 in attorney's fees, plus an additional $5,000 that may be used for a forensic accountant. The $30,000 total will be paid in three $10,000 installments at the end of March, April, and May. I hate the world. I hate it here. So you get beaten by an abusive psychopath and you have to pay him. I mean, people always want to talk about like women being gold diggers and women taking money from rich men and da da da. It happens so much to women and it doesn't get spoken about. And in my opinion, it happens more and it's more egregious because often men are giving money to women that they know they would have no shot with if they didn't have money, and they understand and are in the know that like, I am paying for this young hot woman to be with me. Like, I know there's an exchange here, like her trophy wife, and in exchange for that I give her bags, security, money. Whereas a lot of times with these men, they purposefully manipulate and pretend that they are with you just for you. They don't care about the money. They're madly in love with you. Like it's that kind of situation. And then it's like you find out later. You know what I mean? It's like there isn't like that kind of mutual knowledge. And I'm not saying that there aren't women who manipulate a guy and like pretend they're with him for something more than money, because of course that happens too. But I'm just saying that this happens and women get taken advantage of financially way more than is talked about. Like it is talked about like it's only women manipulating men for money when actually that is not true. Okay. So let's go to a different show. I think that's all for Beverly Hills. Yes. Okay, let's go to some Real Housewives of Atlanta news because the trailer for season 17 dropped, and along with the trailer comes some drama on social media. So Kay Michelle and Drew are going back and forth in the Instagram comments. So Kay Michelle said, "Yes, Drew, spell check and all. You're almost there, little lady. But why would I get attention from you when you barely made the cut? I had to save you, right? Tell the people why you were just narrating. No worries. I got you every time, beauty. I never get the thanks I deserve." So Michelle is kind of implying here that that she's the reason that Drew had any sort of storyline this season, and that, she kind of like saved her from being cut from the show or maybe being cut as a full-time housewife. And then Drew replies and says, "Barely made the cut. I'm 5 seasons in. You thought it was an easy target, but you got the right one. See you April 5th at 8 p.m. Hakuna Matata." So I guess, I mean, I gotta like, come on. She has a point. She's been on for 5 seasons. And if we're being honest, she's been kind of the center of everyone's like drama for the past 5 seasons too. Like it feels like people are always coming after her for, to start something and to have some kind of storyline or something going on. Like Drew has given a lot in the last 5 seasons. I'm sorry, that's just true. So then Kay Michelle responds and says, "Girl, thank you. You are the lying king. Roar." Sorry, these are funny. Okay. And then Drew replies and says, "If I'm the lying king, you just a yodeling hoot." Making noise for attention, no power, no truth. Okay. All right. It looks like we might get some funny back and forth between these two this season, which I always look forward to. In other Atlanta news, Britt Eady drops her $20 million New York State lawsuit against Bravo entities and files a new federal case. Okay. Listen, she dropped that. What was the other case that was dropped? What's his name? Kelly Farrell's ex-husband. He dropped his case. This is what always happens. It's like you get these Todd from Miami, Real Housewives of Miami dropped his case. You get these people who come out, acting all like big and like they're going to take on Bravo and da da da. And it just rarely, not never, but it rarely pans out because it's like, Britt Eady, are you trying to tell me that you have the resources to take on NBC Universal? Like very few do. Like that's going to be really tough. Now she has filed a new federal case, so I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens with that, but I'm not holding my breath. Okay. Meanwhile, Miss Nene Leakes has been seen locking lips with attorney Arthur Horn. So, okay. So they were courtside at a Grizzlies game and the two of them were seen, just a peck, I think. Nene has come out and kind of been like, "Why are you guys all talking about me? It was just a peck. It's not like we're making out." But it's like, Nene, because you're Nene and, we haven't seen you with a new guy in a long time. And here you are with a new guy in a public place being affectionate. So we're not doing the gaslighting thing. Okay. So it seems like Nene's dating life is something that people are watching. And again, these are all clues as to why I think she will be back for Atlanta season 18. Okay. You heard it here first. Well, maybe not. I'm sure other people have said it, but I think that, the groundwork is being laid, as they say. Okay. Meanwhile, Peter Thomas, also known as Patricia, has been released from prison. Okay. So Peter was originally supposed to serve 18 months for like tax. I can't remember exactly what it was. I think like not paying taxes and maybe tax fraud or something like that. But yeah, but he's out and he's not like completely free. Okay, so he's on a what's it called, supervised release. So he only actually served 6 months, and now he's going to begin his 2 years of supervised release, in order to what's it called, pay his dues to society, as they say. So he's in Miami, and yeah, he's out of federal prison though. So good for him. Happy for him to have gotten out of federal prison. But hopefully he can learn something from this and from those 6 months and realize that, the tax man will come to get you. So you got to keep up with that. We've seen it way too many times. Just on Bravo alone, we've seen it a bunch of times, let alone in like the rest of the world, right? Okay, let's talk about Southern Charm. Vinita was on Watch What Happens Live. Oh, who was she on with? Was she on with Lindsay? No, that was Ben. She was on with Lisa Rinna. Okay. She was on the same episode as Lisa Rinna. So not that you guys care. I don't know why I'm getting sidetracked by these details, but so Andy said to Vanita, this has got to be Craig's worst moment on the show. So of course they're referring to Craig freaking out on Sally in the van. And Vanita said, yeah. And she said in that moment when Sally was in the car with Craig, Sally actually texted her, even though they were fighting, and said, hey, I'm afraid, which, yeah, that's not good. Listen, he is such a bad drunk, and he is / user of whatever drugs he may be on, allegedly. I don't know if he's on drugs or anything. I hope that he's clean, but when you're drinking and you have a drug problem, it can often, once you get drunk, those inhibitions are loose. And that kind of gives, the addiction sort of like the opening it needs to convince you to use, right? So I just feel like there's a possibility of that. And, he needs to get his anger under control. Like, he doesn't just need to like not drink and not use. He needs therapy, and it needs to be, rage and anger management. And, it's not okay. Like, this behavior is not okay. Like, I don't care what Sally did. I don't care what anyone did. It's just not okay, you know? So, Queens of Bravo posted, Austin kisses boys when he's had too much to drink. Craig yells at women for no reason and when he's had too much to drink. Be like Austin. And then Leva commented and said, so glad you are witnessing what happens every season. LOL. Okay. Yeah, because we know Leva has had issues with Craig and issues with being yelled at by Craig. And yeah, like, listen, I understand that the guys on the show sometimes yell at each other and raise their voices and stuff, but they should not be yelling at the women on the show. I'm sorry. They just shouldn't. It's not the same, and they just shouldn't be doing it. So Craig needs to get his shit together, and whatever rehab he had done for his image is certainly going down the toilet. And I betcha he's going to see that watching this season back. Maybe he's not. I don't know. He's got a very big ego, so it's possible that he's not. But yeah, he sucks. All right, let's talk about some Vanderpump Rules news. OG, because we have just a small story, but it's kind of like the end of an era, because Ariana Madix gathered her final belongings from her former home with Tom Sandoval. So after everything that happened with Scandoval and all that kind of stuff, it seems like finally the kind of chapter is closed in a way. I mean, I know it's not completely closed because I'm not sure if there's still like lawsuits dangling. I have to check about that. But, finally she's got her stuff. She's out of there. It's kind of like that clean break or clean cut that I think she's probably been wanting for years, close that chapter on that era and just move on. And, Ariana is continuing to, kill it and, has made, there's a lot of people that were like, oh, enjoy your 15 minutes, enjoy your 15 minutes. Well, it's like 3 years later and she's still killing it and she's still doing great. So I don't think it was just a 15 minutes. Okay. haters gonna hate, but what are you gonna do? So good for her, and we're glad that's over. And meanwhile, since he was on Traitors slash what was the other thing? America's Got Talent or whatever. I really haven't heard much about Tom Sandoval, so I don't know. Things played out the way that they needed to for once. Thank God. Okay, let's talk about the Valley Persian style, who just had their finale. It was a great season, and I really enjoyed it. So I like the cast that they've got going, except Gigi, because she drives me crazy. But I like the cast they got going, and I thought it was a good first season. And I think they laid some good groundwork. If you haven't watched it, I highly recommend. But Gigi was on Watch What Happens Live and says she has found her own place. She did need Dennis to co-sign, but he's not paying for anything. But she needed him to co-sign because her credit is so bad. So I don't know what it, I don't, I'm pretty sure that what she said was that it's not the crazy expensive place that she was looking at on the show, because she was looking at this ridiculous like $14,000 a month house that was like, 6 bedroom. It's like, it's you and your son. And if you could afford that, no one's criticizing you. If you're rich and you can buy a big old house for you and your son, that's fantastic. But you're not. You're actually in like dire financial strains and have terrible credit and have all these issues and are still asking your dad for money. So that is all not good. Okay. She also says she does not regret splashing the wine on Sky, but says she was wrong for throwing Adam under the bus about it and says sorry to Adam because she loves Adam. Yeah, you should regret splashing the wine on Sky because for 2 reasons. Number one, just don't do that. Like whatever Sky did, like I just watched the episode last night. What Sky did not in any way warrant any sort of physicality or drink throwing of any kind. Okay, so that's first. Second, you look like a loser doing it. Like it was just so pathetic. It was, I don't know, it was very cringe. And third, it was so clear that Gigi was just trying to make a finale moment. Like, I don't even think she was like that mad about anything Sky said. It seemed like bad acting and like fake. And like, we want, we want the Valley Persian style. The Valley Persian style is great. The new cast is fantastic. But I have to say, the old cast, like Reza, Mercedes, and Gigi, especially Gigi and Reza, are trying a little too hard to make shit happen. Like, and it's coming off just kind of like cringe and like obnoxious, just, and granted, I guess like it did kind of get things going, like, like Reza kind of started some stuff, but you could tell that they were like, this is our shot. We have to make it happen. We got our show back. You could tell like there's some panic in them. I hope they get renewed for season 2 and they can relax a little bit and be a little bit more authentic going forward. Okay, our very last piece of news here comes from Gen NYC. I can't wait for the new season. I loved that show. It was so fun. So it looks like Gia Giudice is not going to be driving in from New Jersey and going through the tunnel this season and making everyone come out to New Jersey for her barbecues in her backyard, because she has got her first apartment and her first place that is fully hers. Okay. And she was featured in Forbes magazine with this. Okay. Good for her. And I already made a mistake because I said it was in New York City. Sorry, it's in Jersey City. So I guess she is good. It's okay. I take it all back. But it is closer to New York City. Okay. So basically it says that I just cause like the picture and okay, sorry guys, I'm an idiot. And I haven't eaten lunch yet. So she said she moved to Jersey City, New Jersey, and this is to be closer to work in New York City. It is a stylish modern space that features floor to ceiling windows, a white L-shaped couch, and a spacious kitchen. She's living alone to try and gain independence, but still like close enough to her family and close enough to work. So, I mean, that does kind of seem like I guess that's a good compromise. You're not like as far as you were from work, but you're still close enough that you can go home and all that kind of stuff. Um, so yeah, I guess that's kind of good. And, you know, it was like one of those sponsored posts or whatever. So good for her. I mean, listen, we've watched her since she was a kid, like grow up and stuff. So it is crazy that, you know, it is crazy that like she's a full adult and like living in the city and etc. And that she's kind of making like a reality. Like I know like Andy would always talk about it, and it was always kind of a joke. Like she'll take after her mother and be like a reality star, but it is kind of crazy when you see it actually playing out and happening. So wow. All right. So I guess that means that she's definitely going to be on the next season of Next Gen NYC, which I kind of already knew because there was already like clues about them. You know, they were on the panel at BravoCon and we kind of knew all that. So I'm assuming we're getting that show this summer, which seems really far away because I would like it now, but maybe it starts in the spring, but I haven't heard anything about the start date. We do have some new stuff though coming on the Bravo schedule. So what do we have? So for this week, we've got the Southern Hospitality premiere. That was what I was going for. And the Ladies of London premiere. Interesting. So Southern Hospitality premiere is going to be Wednesday. I'll be watching that. And Thursday, we're going to have the Ladies of London premiere. I'll be watching that too, not as urgently as Southern Hospitality, but it'll be interesting because Real Housewives of London was really, really good. Like it was so good. If you haven't watched it, please watch it. It was amazing. I binged the whole thing and I was very late on the Real Housewives of London train, but I binged it. And I believe that it is going to be making a move over to Bravo. And it did really well. It was fantastic. So I'm not going to lie, I'm a little worried about this Ladies of London reboot because number one, it just doesn't like, I don't know. The trailer didn't look as promising. That's what I'll say. They've been doing a fair amount of promo for it, but you know, it looks fine, but you never know. So we'll see. We'll see. I almost feel like it's a battle. Like who's going to be the show that's going to end up on Bravo as like the London show? Because it's almost hard to believe that you could have both of them. Now, that being said, you know, we have like Real Housewives of Atlanta and Married to Medicine that are both Atlanta shows and they do both work on their own. But again, they're both really good shows. So, you know, Ladies of London, you're going to have to bring it. You're going to have to bring it. And that's it. All right. Okay. So you are now in the know for everything Bravo. Thank you so much for listening. And until next time, bye.